Hi, I'm Mark Jardine and this is Sail for Gold Live.
On the final day of the Rio 2016 Olympic sailing competition. And what a day, with the medal races for the women's and men's 470, the men's 49er and the women's 49er FX.
For the final time, I caught up with Andy Rice out in Rio to talk about the day's racing.
I'm here with Andy Rice, who's out in Rio on the concluding day of this sailing competition, and it was a superb way to finish the regatta. First of all, the 470 women, Hannah Mills and Saskia Clark, wrapped it up in style.
Yes, they did. It was funny to speak to Hannah Mills afterwards to know how nervous she was. She said she checked the boat so carefully this morning because there was a slight possibility that if something broke and they didn't finish the race and the New Zealanders won that race, then they might not actually win the gold medal. And there's not normally much that would go wrong on a 470, but she was anxious, and it had been a quite a long 48-hour wait from effectively winning the race before they actually got to get those gold medals around their necks. But wow, did they celebrate. It was absolutely fantastic to see how much it meant to them.
And the battle for silver was just epic.
I can barely remember all the highs and lows of it, but I do feel sorry for the Americans because they were leading in the early stages. They were in the silver medal position. They fell back a little bit, but they were still vying in the front to middle of the pack. But then they fouled the Japanese on the final run to the finish. They had to take a penalty spin. That put them back to 10th and last in that race, and they fell all the way out of the medals from having been in a potential silver medal. So I feel really sorry for them. Joe Alley and Polly Parry, the defending Olympic champions from 2012, ended up getting silver, and they said it meant more to them winning the silver here than it did the gold 4 years ago, because they had to fight so hard from a poor position halfway through the regatta.
And moving on to the 470 men, Luke Patience and Chris Grube, a great finish to the event, but the headline story was Croatia's first gold medal in sailing at the Olympics.
Yeah, that's right. Just 2 days ago, it was Tonči Stevanović who won Croatia's first ever medal, a silver in the laser, and now the gold for Fantella and Marinic, who have been dominant all year. So we shouldn't really be that surprised that they won the gold medal, I suppose, except that the Australians have dominated this event for so long now. And it's been pretty much the last 16 years that Australia has set the pace in the men's 470. But this week, Matt Belcher and Will Ryan just couldn't hold, and it didn't matter what Rio threw at them. The Croatians had an answer for it, and very well-deserved winners. Belcher doing well to come back from bronze this morning to just get past the Greeks in what was another really, really good match race between Australia and Greece. Greece getting the bronze, and very happy with that all the same.
Moving on to the 49ers and the 49er FXs, it wasn't the best medal races for the Brits with capsizes in both, but the 49ers, Peter Burling and Blair Tuke, how could they get a medal race of that quality after the series they had done?
Yeah, it really is staggering just how special they look all the time, and how they've managed to sort of put out what they were up for doing 4 years ago. They made it very clear straight after London 2012, getting the silver medal there, that they were going to go after the gold and do it in dominating style. And they showed everybody their hand, and you would have thought that people would have had a chance to catch them up and try and get on level terms with them. But no matter how good the rest of the fleet got, Burling and Tuke just keep on getting better and better, and you can see it in every single movement around the boat. They're just that little bit slicker and that bit sharper, and they won that race easily today.
They seem to have taken skiff sailing to another level. Would you regard them as the best skiff sailors of all time?
Yes, I certainly would regard them as the best skiff sailors of all time, and I think that they have to start being considered as perhaps amongst the best sailors of all time. We maybe need to see what they can achieve at America's Cup level and in other parts of the sport, but certainly speaking to people that have raced against all of them. I'm trying to think who it was that someone I was speaking to, I think an Olympic medalist himself, has raced against all the greats, including our own great Ben Ainsley, and that person, I wish I could remember their name, rates Burling and Schuka as perhaps the best of all. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, in terms of Olympic medals, they've got still quite a long way to go past Ben Ainsley's tally, but they could be well on their way with that silver 4 years ago and the gold today.
I completely agree. And the finale, the 49er FX, there were so many teams just vying on the water for that spot, and it was the dream finish for Brazil.
Yeah, it was an incredible race to watch. It looked like the Kiwis were going to get it. They led for so much of the race. The Brazilians did what you would do when you're trying to try something different from the leader. They got out to the left-hand side, and there was a big split up the final beat. I'm not entirely sure why the Kiwis chose to stay going on the right. Of course, you've got to remember there were two other teams behind them, the Spanish and the Danes, that could also attack for the gold. So it wasn't a straightforward process for the Kiwis. But anyway, the Brazilians, they did hit left. They came back in ahead of New Zealand. New Zealand came back at them really hard down the final run. I thought New Zealand was going to get a gust and get down the inside track of the Brazilians, and they did to some extent manage that. But somehow the Brazilians managed to soak down towards the finish and just get across probably less than a boat length. But anyway, 2 seconds was the margin.
Rio 2016 has turned into a superb sailing regatta when there were so many doubts about it beforehand. What's your view of the regatta as a whole?
Yeah, I've been to the last three. I've been to China, I've been to London 2012, and I've been to this one. And this is the one that I've enjoyed the most. I think the variety of sailing that it's brought us has been incredible. I think that mostly the issues of water quality and debris in the water were mostly put to bed. And yeah, things came together very, very late for these games. And I still wonder if Rio 2016 across the board will go down as one of the classics. I have my doubts about that. But I think in terms of what Rio 2016 has delivered for sailing, I think it's been amazing. And I think my colleagues on the photography side have had an absolute field day. I can't imagine how long we're going to have to wait before we find another backdrop as good as the one that we have here, because I'm struggling to think of one that's as amazing to look at as Christ the Redeemer and Sugarloaf Mountain. And sailing really has been one of the prime beneficiaries of that. And you look at the medal ceremony with the medalists framed against the backdrop of Sugarloaf Mountain, and there's not many other sports that have had that opportunity here. So I come away from this regatta giving it an 8 or 9 out of 10. I think it really has been very good.
Well, Andy, having your insight on Sail for Gold Live has been incredible. Many thanks indeed for your time for the last 11 days.
It's been a lot of fun. Thanks very much, Mark.
We spoke to Dylan Fletcher's training partner, James Peters.
Yeah, it was difficult because he went from obviously didn't achieve quite what he wanted to achieve on the start, and then actually got themselves really back in the race. At one point we were all thinking actually this could be possible, and then obviously the capsize at the bottom. But actually looking at the race, then he would have had to have sailed an unbelievable last lap to have actually got himself into that bronze medal position. So yeah, disappointed, but you know, it is really tricky. I mean, they're racing on that Sugarloaf course, and you've got the wind coming around either side of that big lump of rock, and it makes it quite unpredictable and hard to see which side's going to pay. So there are big gains and losses all the time. Yeah, I think he would have gone to bed last night with a bit of hope, you know, and he did have a reason to be hopeful, because those guys could have done it. They could have pulled it out of the bag. They do sail the boat very well, and I mean he's bound to be really disappointed having capsized. But I do think he'll look back with retrospect and actually be happy with the way they sailed that final half of the regatta, because they did sail really, really well after the first 2 days, right up until the medal race. So you know, I think they have got reason to be pleased. I mean, Dylan is a very, very intense, hard-working individual. And Alan Syne, his whole life has been about the sport, and he's one of the best sailors of the boat in the world. and yeah, I mean, the two of them have, they've put everything into not just the last 4 years, but I mean, they got really close to the London Olympics. They came fifth at the World Championships 2 years before the London Olympics. To give you an idea of the timescales involved, and they've been sailing together since 2007. So the timescales are massive, and they've put everything into it, and that's not a bad result. I know it's not what they wanted, but it's honestly not a bad result.
Many thanks for watching us on Sail for Gold Live. See you out on the waters soon.